Now, you might assume that a 380 ACP sidearm is perfect for a pocket carry, but it's hardly the kind of firepower you'd compare to a full-size 9mm or a 45. You're not wrong. That raises the question, why should anyone actually be wary of it? The answer is straightforward, because it can fail you when you need it most. In other words, carrying it might actually put you at a disadvantage and leave you exposed in a high-stakes scenario. So why the caution? Not because it's a lethal threat to everyone else, but because it's potentially a liability for the shooter. Before we dive into the LCP II specifically, we need to talk about micro-compact pistols as a whole. They all share similar weaknesses. Hard to believe, right? These tiny guns are extremely popular, especially for concealed carry. Their appeal is mostly their pocketable size, but that same compactness is what introduces the issues. It all starts with caliber. To make a pistol that small, manufacturers chamber it in a low-power round like the 380 ACP, keeping the ammo small and the recoil manageable. Compared to a single-stack 9mm or a snub-nose 38 Special, these micro-pistols are lighter and smaller. But that comes at the cost of stopping power. Ruger tried to address some of these shortcomings with the LCP II, but certain flaws remain. First off, the trigger pull is frustratingly poor. A smooth, crisp trigger makes accuracy possible. A long, gritty pull makes it a gamble. While many semi-autos have a mix of good and bad triggers, almost all subcompact 380s suffer in this department. Larger 380 can avoid this, but the tiny pocket pistols? Not so much. As if a bad trigger wasn't enough, these guns are also punchy. That's no accident. Recoil is absorbed by mass. The heavier the firearm, the more it resists kick. A micro 380 has very little weight to stabilize it, so even a modest round like the 380 snaps noticeably. Sure, these guns are intended for real-world defense rather than target practice, but if you struggle on the range, imagine trying to put rounds on target under real adrenaline and stress. Your fine motor control takes a nosedive, making even a close-range shot tricky. Missed shots mean a higher chance of the attacker succeeding and a bigger risk of hitting an innocent bystander. The discomfort of shooting them also tempts some owners to skip practice, which is exactly what you shouldn't do with a defensive tool. Then there's ergonomics. Small frame equals small grip, and getting a proper hold is a challenge. With poor grip, you can't control the recoil effectively. Ruger made improvements with the LCP II over the original LCP, which hit the market in 2008 and quickly gained a following. Yet even with the upgrades, many of these inherent problems persist. For instance, the first LCP didn't lock the slide back after the last round, an annoyance to owners. Ruger listened to feedback and tweaked things with the LCP II, improving the ergonomics, trigger, and slide function. But at the end of the day, it's still a micro-pocket pistol. The first and most noticeable upgrade is the trigger. It's nearly on par with the larger striker-fired polymer pistols you see on the market today. In any case, it's lighter and smoother than the original. The LCP II also features a bladed safety that must be pressed before you can pull the trigger. Thanks to the single-action mechanism, the trigger pull now clocks in at around 6 pounds, a big improvement over the double-action pull of the original LCP. Handling gets a boost too, thanks to forward and rear slide serrations that are wider than before, making it easier to rack the slide with confidence. The trigger guard has been enlarged as well, so even gloved hands won't struggle. The grip itself is slightly bigger, with a textured surface that holds well even in wet conditions. Combined with the improved trigger, grip, and serrations, the LCP II is easier to shoot. Of course, it's still a tiny pocket pistol, so it retains a bit of snappiness. Another key improvement is the addition of a slide stop. After the last round fires, the slide locks back, giving you a clear visual that the gun is empty and making magazine changes easier. Racking the slide is no longer a hassle, allowing you to get back in the fight quickly. The LCP II uses its own magazines, though it can also accept the original LCP mags. Keep in mind, though, If you use the old mags, the slide won't lock back on the last round. You'll need the LCP II magazine to take advantage of that feature. One carryover from the original LCP that remains is the sighting. They're just plain black, which can make aiming against darker backgrounds tricky.
Ruger designed the LCP II with two main purposes: concealed carry and as a backup pistol. In both cases, most shots are expected at close range, where the black sights do the job just fine. To reinforce its intended role, it comes with a neoprene pocket holster sporting the Ruger logo. This holster does its job well, covering the trigger guard for safety and featuring hooks and sticky material to stay secure in your pocket, while still allowing a smooth draw when needed. As a backup gun, the LCP II behaves much like a full-sized pistol, which simplifies training and practice. Capacity sits at 6+1 rounds, while the weight is a mere 10.6 ounces. Its compact dimensions, 5.17 inches long, 0.91 inches wide, make it easy to carry concealed all day. The frame is constructed from glass-filled nylon for durability, while the 2.75-inch barrel is alloy steel with a blued finish. The integrated sights and 6-pound trigger pull make it as functional as it is compact. Looking at it closely, the LCP II represents an important step forward in the evolution of .380 pocket pistols. Ruger has shown that a tiny .380 doesn't have to come with a terrible trigger, and that ergonomics can be improved even in micro pistols. Other manufacturers will likely follow suit, making the .380 pocket pistol an even more viable option for everyday carry. And while the .380 ACP isn't a powerhouse, it's far from impotent. With the right ammunition and proper training, it can be a legitimate self-defense round when you need real firepower.